Okay, I know. I lied. As you can see by the title, this is not a Q&A. Okay, I'm being dramatic. So, for the very few of you who saw my posts across social media, I was originally planning for this video to be a Q&A since I had a few questions from you guys on my last video. But when I posted asking for more questions, the algorithm smited my content to the shadow realm, and I did not get many questions. At least not enough to make a full-fledged video on, and I really didn't want to hold off posting for too long. So I decided to post something else, and something that matched my channel better. An OC redesign video. Before we get into the whole video, I would like to answer a few questions because some of you did ask me some and I don't want to leave you in the dark. So here is a short Q&A segment before we get started. Question number 1 from @neon189.84 on YouTube. Random, but do you read webtoons? Yes, I do. I mean, when it comes to the website webtoon specifically, I haven't read in a while, but comics, manhwas, and webtoons in general, yes, every now and then. The most recent time that I've read webtoon was years ago, like the actual website, and that's actually how I found out about one of my favorite novels, Listen to Reader's Viewpoint. I made a video about this on TikTok a while back, and they just released the English versions, and it's not all of them, but some of them, and I actually have the first two of the novel, not the webtoon, and I love it so much. I haven't finished it, so don't spoil it. It's 6,000 pages long. Anyways, question 2 and 3 from @CatTheCat YouTube on YouTube. There's actually a whole list, but I chose a couple I'd like to answer. Do you have friends who enjoy art, and do you think you will live stream in the future? To the first one, yes. My best friend is actually an artist herself, but she doesn't really post it online. We've been friends for 8 years, and she's the best. For the second one, I actually have a Twitch, but because of my tight schedule, I don't really stream. I hope to do so more often in the future, though. That's all for the short Q&A portion, and thank you so much to anyone who asked me questions, even if I didn't answer them in this video. This redesigning thing is most likely going to become a series, as I'm designing and redesigning basically every character from my favorite and only developed OC story, Deliverance. I posted a video on TikTok about how I wanted to rewrite the story, and I have officially done so, or at least the bigger parts of it. In this video, I'll be showcasing 3 of my OCs from the story. Also, for the rest of this video, I'm testing out not using a script, so it'll probably be messy. Yeah! Alright, this is Kyril. He is the first being to ever exist in the world of Deliverance. In the world of Deliverance, there are celestial beings, also the gods of the world. Kyril was the first one to ever exist in a plane of darkness in this undeveloped realm. He was alone, and he just had nobodies, right? So he's the first thing to ever exist. He is also a relatively new character. He's not one who I have always had in the story. In fact, in the first iteration of Deliverance, gods weren't even a thing. It was more of a lab experiment type story, which I'm not against in any way, but that's what it was. And I did change it from being that to more of a god-like story. I've kind of found an in-between now, but it's anyways, a relatively new character, a character who is so recent, only in the past year has he ever been introduced in the story, and he had a specific purpose. But in the story's lore, he is the first being to ever exist. I wanted to give him some sort of elegance to him, which I did have in his original design. His original design is heavily based on, I don't know if I'll have the word, but I'll pop it up on the screen if I find it. I believe it was more Korean culture, but I felt like he just kind of looked like a Korean guy which was not supposed to happen. I ended up giving him these weird eyebrows and a facial crest, and honestly just some sort of off-putting look, which I did really like. And in fact, it didn't really change in the design that much because I really liked that design, but I wanted him to look a little less human. As is shown, I do try out a few different dresses, but I do end up choosing and like stopping on this more Asian, Japanese style dress, one of the older types of dresses that you would see, because I think they're just so beautiful to me, and I feel like it's something that he would definitely wear. I did try to make it not so much from that era that it, again, he just looks like he's Japanese or from Earth.
Oh my god, bro.
You will see that I do end up giving him these tendrils. They go back from the nape of his neck, and they are something that he can control, kind of like a tail. They are heavily inspired by two things. Slender Man's like tentacles, and also, if you know, you know, the Draenei from World of Warcraft. Look it up. Exactly what they look like. And my best friend, you will absolutely love that I did this, I think. But that's definitely heavily what they're based on. Not exactly the same thing, but it just came to mind, and I just added it to design, and I love it. So you will also see that I have two versions of his design, because in the lore, which I will not be explaining because I will be most likely making some sort of lore explanation video, he does have a very noticeable difference between his past version, which is his first design, and his present version in the storyline. His past version is more elegant, endearing, and even if a little off-putting, he overall looks like, you know, a mentor, a father. He looks kind. He looks like he is a leader, right? And in his second design, he looks very disheveled, and even his face, although he still wears the same smile, it's a lot more off-putting and even angry. There are small details that I put in his face to show that he is straining his smile, that he is not very okay with his situation. Maybe that he's even going a little crazy. I don't know. You'll also see in his past design that he has the snake that wraps around him. Her name is Adi, and she is the first snake to ever exist. Kyril has two children. They are the beings that he creates whenever he finally gets tired of being on his lonesome in this dark realm. And these two are kind of the embodiment of life and death. And they are also the other two characters that I designed in this video. But Kyril's son creates snakes who are supposed to look like Kyril. You will see in the design that I give Kyril these snake-like eyes, and also his tendrils kind of look like snakes coming from the nape of his neck. Audi is not in the second version of his design, and she's not dead. She's not dead, but there is a reason she's not there. Also in his second and more disheveled design, I give his tendrils more room of movement. They look like they are sentient or moving because he is disheveled. He's not trying to present himself as this fully kind and like put together being. He is letting himself be a bit more disheveled, but he's still trying to keep that smile on. You may notice that his design is also pretty bland. He's got really only 3 colors going with his design, whereas a lot of my other characters will have, at the very least, multiple colors and be relatively colorful. I like to give my characters at least 3 colors that work with their design, not being black and white. But Kyril is almost exclusively black and white other than his eye color, and there is a reason for that. I will go as little detail as I can into this, but Kyril's whole character arc, kind of, is that he does not feel like he has a purpose compared to the other people He knows. He is the first being to ever exist, but he doesn't feel like he has any importance around him. Think of him like Kane from the Amazing Digital Circus, except he's an actual being, not an AI. The only thing that I correlate between the two is mainly their sense of purpose, that they feel like they need to do something to make them feel important, and if they don't do that, they are not important, and they don't mean anything. I can't say anymore, it's too much lore. But anyways, you will also see this circle in the corner of the speed paint. I won't have much to say about that other than this is the visual representation of his soul. Souls are very important in this world's lore. Like huge. Like it's the whole power system. I can't wait to talk about that. Oh, I need to make a lore video. Anyways, souls are very important, and in every single character's design, I'm probably gonna make some sort of like visual representation of what their soul may look like. When I think about souls, I always think of them as this center in somebody's like being. It can be represented by some sort of flame. I see that a lot, which I do like. But if I'm thinking about like a character physically seeing their soul, I think of it more like a circle that kind of holds their being and their energy, their aura, right? So those little circles that you see in these speed paints, which they will be in all three, are a visual representation of what their soul may look like and might point you into a direction of how this character acts, or, is. This next character is Manea. She is the daughter of Kyril, and she is the embodiment of death. But, hold on, she is not what you would expect when you think of the embodiment of death. Most people, when they create a character who's supposed to be death or has death-related powers, they are a Grim Reaper type of character who is cold, disheartened, and just overall kind of gloomy and only cares about bringing destruction. And honestly, they're evil most of the time. So, I went the opposite. I've always seen Manea as an extremely caring and gentle person who wants the best for humanity. She just happens to be somebody who can bring death upon things. But here's the thing. She's not Manea, the celestial of death. She's Manea, the protector of souls. She is somebody who wants to protect those after they die, not be the cause of their death. She believes that death should be natural, and in fact hides her ability to be able to cause this horrible tragedy. She also believes that death can be beautiful, and that death should be painless, and she should be the one to lead those into their afterlife after they do die. She watches over the souls of all beings and protects them like they were her own children. And she watches over Earth and all the beings on it and admires it. She doesn't want to bring death to things, she simply wants to protect things after they do come to an end. That's who she is. She's extremely kind and caring and gentle. Now, she used to be kind of opposing to her brother, and honestly, she still kind of is, when it comes to personality at least. But she used to be the opposite of him in color palette. I will definitely be showing a picture up on screen, but her brother used to be this white skin tone bleeding into black, while she was the black skin tone bleeding into white. Like the literal colors, black and white. And I really did like this design. But when it came to redesigning the characters for this new story, I found it so incredibly difficult to make it work. I will pop up a couple of designs that I had, or maybe just one, but the one that I can think of is one where I decided I wanted to incorporate moths and butterfly symbolism into both of their designs. But while trying to design Manea, I came up with a really interesting design that I loved, but one that I hated when she was standing next to her brother. They just did not look like siblings, and although it's not necessary that they do, I really felt like I wanted you to look at them and understand that they were similar to each other and maybe even related to each other, and she just looked like a completely different being, and she also looked way too much like you would think of Death. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't want Manea to look like your basic rendition of Death. There's nothing wrong with these renditions, but because of her personality and general meaning, I didn't want her to just look like a Grim Reaper, because that's not what she was. I wanted her to look kind and look gentle. I wanted her to look motherly, but I also didn't want you to look at her and think that there was no way she could be a quote-unquote god of death. So, I added a lot of symbolism into both her and her brother's character. In fact, for all the characters I'll be designing, they will have these little mood boards at the top, with a lot of these things symbolizing how this character is or what they represent. In this mood board, you can see poppies, butterflies, and general colors and aesthetics. And that is exactly what I incorporate into this design. You can see that I add poppies into basically every one of her designs, as well as a couple butterfly type things that are on her body. You will see very much later into this speed paint that I add these little tendrils that are similar to Kyril's tendrils, but a lot thinner and more representing butterfly antennas, which I really like, and I did incorporate into both her and her brother's design. Now, I had a really rough time with Manea's design. Because of who she was and what she represented, I found it so hard to design her and have her represent death but also not look like the basic representation, as I've been saying. It took me a long time to find an outfit for her that I like, and honestly, by the time I get to that part, I'll already be talking for the next 5 minutes. I will say that I wanted her to be in a dress, so basically every iteration of her is in a dress, except for a couple designs, but I did end up falling on a dress that I really like. You will also see me tweaking her leg designs. I was really struggling with the fact that they look really human, and although I justify this by saying that humans are based on them, because humans are created in this world, I still didn't like how human they looked, so I decided that I would go for her legs and maybe try out a less humanoid leg type. I saw this picture on Pinterest that made their legs more just like little points, and I liked the way it looked, but I wasn't able to pull it off. It did stay like that for a while until I ended up deciding to give her more hoof type legs, which I ended up really liking, and it also took away the problem of shoes for me. You will see in Manea and her brother's design that they have these symbols incorporated into their clothing. This symbol is very closely resembling the Ankh from ancient Egypt. But Manea's brother is the one who holds the actual Ankh symbol, not fully, but more closely resembling it, whereas hers is more upside down and more resembles a teardrop. Basically, her brother's symbol represents life, and her symbol represents death. It's just the upside down of the other. I tried to incorporate it into their designs, but not as roughly as I normally would. After a while, I, finally found the dress that I like, which is very shortly shown in this speed paint. You will also notice that there is a peculiar looking pocket watch in basically every rendition of her design. This was also in the old design that I really liked at first and then ended up not liking as much, because time is actually, surprisingly enough, an object used as to symbolize death. I don't see it as often, which is why it surprised me, but then I thought of a couple shows, mainly Stranger Things, that uses a literal grandfather clock to symbolize that your time is coming, and I kind of like that, so I decided to add a pocket watch to her design that she would use in some way, shape, or form. I haven't fully thought of how she would use it, but it is something that I think will probably be pretty important to her character. So it is there, and I did incorporate it. I also incorporate poppies, mainly on the hip of her dress, to kind of hold the pocket watch in place, and in her hair as decoration. I did have them on the ground, but I low-key kind of forgot about it until I already imported the speed paint, and I was like, fuck, that would have been so cool. But I didn't do it. It is really cool though. I did want to do it. So just imagine that there's like poppies at the bottom of her feet, because that would look super cool. I also tried some new colors. In Manea's original design, she had white hair, pure black skin with purple accents, and a black dress. In her second design, I was really trying to deviate from the black, but then I decided to go back to it. She has more gray skin, black hair, black dress with white accents, and a lot of red accents as well, including her poppies. This time, I decided to go a bit different. There's this character from Evangelicis who is actually, probably in her mood board a few times, that I just really liked the look of. She has blue hair and red eyes, and I don't know her name because I've never watched Evangelicis, but I will show a picture of her. And I liked that design, so I decided to try out blue hair, and I really like the way it looks, and it also contrasts greatly with her black dress, because I honestly just couldn't find another color to give her dress. It had to be black. And then the red also looked really well as not only an accent color, but as her eye color. It matched with the poppies, and it just made sense. Her design is simpler than I originally wanted it to be, but I actually like it a lot more. I posted a video a while back about a My Hero OC on TikTok, and I was saying that less is more, and I need to incorporate that into my art more, and I feel like this design is a really good example of that. When I say less is more, I mean like, don't overthink it, don't put so many details and so much shading and rendering into your art that it looks muddy or messy or incoherent. So I didn't actually try to incorporate it into her design, but I ended up doing that, and I like it so much more than her over-the-top design I had before. So, I guess it worked out. Manea has the power to bring death to people. You can probably see it very slightly in this photo, but she has gloves on her main pair of hands. Her and her brother both have 2 pairs of hands. The second one's coming from about their rib cage, and the first one's coming from the normal shoulder area. Her first pair of hands has the power to bring death, to end the life of any living being. And she wears gloves on them at all time because she doesn't want to bring death to other beings. In fact, her main pair of hands are usually just kind of sitting there while her second pair of hands do most of the work. And that is about it for Manea's design. I actually love this design so much, and I could not stop talking about it when I finally showed it to youth. It was just genuinely something that I worked so long on. I'm not kidding. This design took me a couple weeks because every time I sat down to do it, all I could do was sketch out something and then erase it and then sketch it out. You can see in the speed paint, 75% of it is me sketching because I don't know what to do with her character. But I found the groove, and I really like her design, and I don't feel the need to change it whatsoever. This next character is Hayat. He is the son of Kyril and the brother of Manea. If you couldn't have guessed already, he is the embodiment or the celestial of life. He has the power to create things and breathe life into them. Therefore, his name is Hayat, the breather of life. Hayat's design was always the same. It was the same design for a very long time. From the moment I created him, he had a red, white, and gold color palette, and that barely changed. At one point, I made him have a more humanoid look and skin tone, but whenever I redesigned him again, I hated it, and I gave him back his old red, black, and gold design color palette again. And once again, after a while, I hated it. I didn't think that his color palette matched with what his meaning was at all. He's the breather of life, but he looks straight up evil. He does not look like he is somebody who creates things and brings them to life. Hayat, in the story, is actually one of the main villains for a while. He isn't necessarily evil, but he does cause a lot of the issues on Earth due to some selfish reasoning. and he doesn't really let it go for a long time, but he does have a character redemption. He has always had one. Every single time there is an iteration of Hayat, he is not so good at first and eventually overcomes the feelings that he has to become a better person. I want him to look good. I want you to look at him and think that he looks like somebody who's maybe in tune with life. He has plants around him, specifically the plant, the Venus flytrap. I felt like this plant is always something that's seen as kind of like dangerous, but they're really not. In fact, they're quite small compared to what they're portrayed in like media and stuff, and they bloom really beautiful flowers, which I don't have the name for, but I will pop a picture up here. So I gave him the Venus flytrap as one of his themed like plants. Like Manea has her poppies, which I do have her as a reference in the side of the screen in this speed paint, he has his Venus flytraps. I've always thought that whenever he goes through his redemption arc, these flowers that come from the Venus flytraps would start blooming around him instead of just the Venus flytraps. He does not necessarily have the power to create plants or anything, more that he can create anything and bring it to life. That's his whole thing. He is the celestial of life, but due to a certain event in his life, he started to have hate for the creations of his, aka humans, and he wanted to bring them down. Unfortunately, his sister and other celestials around him completely disagreed with this and stopped him. He does grow to resent them a bit, but he doesn't really do anything about it after that, other than, at some point, 100 years later, deciding that he's gonna find a different approach to his issue that he has, and, just fix his problems. Whatever this is, it is quite a long ways before his actual redemption arc. A very long way. But, It's important to his character, very important to his character, and our main character, who is not in this video, unfortunately. I wanted him to have more life colors, if that makes sense. Whenever I was designing all these characters, I found color palettes, symbolism, everything that I could that would represent what they are. So whatever they are the embodiment of, whatever they represent, I try to incorporate that into their designs, so that you can tell just by looking at them. It's an important part of character design, making sure that like you can look at them and understand what's going on. So I tried my best to do that, especially with Hayat and Manea. If you look at him, he has these more earthy color palettes, or these earthy colors. So like he's got a lot of green, yellows, reds. The red is a contrast color here, so it is included in plants like the Venus flytrap, and it's also his and his sister's eye color. But it is something that greatly contrasts the color green, which is very prevalent in his character design, which makes sense. It's a little off-putting. So you see all this green and you're like, oh yeah, plant guy, yeah, breather of life over here. But the red is a little scary, maybe he's not so nice, I don't know. But Hayat is extremely important to the story of Deliverance. He is the main antagonist for a good portion of the series, or it's not really a series, it's my personal project. He's a huge antagonist for a good portion of the lore, until he eventually finds a way to become a little bit of a better person, and find connections within his circle. So I really wanted his design to portray that he does have good in him. There are some designs that like I want to make to where you can tell that they're kind of too far gone, but with Hayat's design, I wanted it to be like he's definitely kind of evil, but there's something in him that can be fixed. And I love that. I love that part of his design. And overall, I really like Hayat's design. It doesn't change that much from the design I had literally right before this, other than a little less butterfly motif and a slight shift in like color palette and outfit design. Because I already really liked the design that I made up for him, I just overall really like his design so freaking much, and I hope you guys like it too. And that's the 3 redesigns for today. These are the first beings to ever be created in my story, and there are so many more, including other celestials and obviously the main characters. This will definitely be a series because there will be a lot of characters, and I'm so excited to continue it. Ask me any questions if you'd like to know about them or their world, and let me know which design you like the most. This is only my second video, but I really hope you enjoy how I did it. I enjoyed making it a lot. Also, subscribe. Bye bye!